وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Normally, our source of Sharia, from which our ulama normally infer and deduct the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, are drawn from Qur'ān and Majid. And the second thing is the Sunnah of the Prophet, or the traditions reported from the Prophet, provided they are authentic and correctly reported. As far as Qur'an and Majid is concerned, there is no question that everything that is in Qur'an does not have to be authenticated, for it is an authentic book. The only book in which we believe that every word of it is the same as it was revealed to Allah by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No addition, no omission, no interpolation has taken place in Qur'an and Majid. Try to remember this, that we believe that Qur'an and Majid is what was revealed to the Prophet, the way it is in our hands today. When you hear the Shias being accused of having another Qur'an, you must try to understand there is no another Qur'an whatsoever. It's the same Qur'an, and the hadith is from Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam himself, that whatever you have between the two covers in your hands is Qur'an and Majid complete. So there is no such question. There are accusations you can level against people without any justification. But those accusations have no basis whatsoever. For example, it was made public in the books that they have written recently, and the books are coming out every year, against the Shias, in which they write that there is a Quran of 40 para. Normally you have 30 paras, what you call sipara. Si para means 30 para. Each one is called a para. We have Quran which is called Si para. Si is Persian. Si means 30. So there are 30 paras beginning from Alif Lam Mim, Surah Al-Baqarah, ending with Surah Qul A'udhu bi Rabbin Nas in the para of Amma. And we were accused of having one of 40. And there are 10 more paras in which we believe. And it was said then that one copy of it is in Bihar, in Patna, in the library of Khuda Bakhsh. Now, Khuda Bakhsh library is supposed to be the world's largest Oriental library. It is bigger than British Library as far as Oriental books are concerned. And it is one man's collection. Gradually, it went into the government custody because the government has got to look after this legacy which has come up, collected by one man and then, of course, by many other scholars, till it has grown to the size that it is today. Of course, now it is under government care. But it is there. Naturally, when you are told this, very few scholars would take any pain to go and find out whether there is such a thing existing or not. What normally was the answer by our ulama was that such a thing does not exist. And if it exists, it is not our Quran. Well, that was the answer usually given. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me an opportunity of going to Bihar quite often. And once when I was in Patna, And my host was one of the directors of Khuda Bakhsh Library, Sayyid Hassan Askari, who was a Shia, and he was nearly 92 years old when I met him. And he was actually dying of cancer because cancer had spread all over in the body. But his mind was still present. And when I met him, I asked him if I could go and visit the library. He said, "Don't go alone. Go with my students so that you may be able to see that part of the library which people normally do not see." So there were hundreds of students who had done their master's degree and whatever under his care. He called one and he said, "Take him as my personal guest. I cannot accompany him because I am not well." So we went there, and when I went there, I did not go alone. I went with Professor Musa Rida, who you all know because he has come to England to read Majalis several times. He has also been to East Africa. He is a Dhakir of Ahlul Bayt, Professor Musa Rida. And I went with Professor Sami Askari, who is the son of Hassan Askari, and 2 or 3 other people. And we went and we were received, naturally because of the recommendation, we were received as VIP guests. The moment we entered the room, which was meant for VIP reception, the person in charge said, "Before you go to see the books, let me show you the valuable articles of this library. Some antiques, certain things which you will not see in the library, but you will be shown here." And he brought some pieces of art, ancient arts, from Mughal era. And he showed me one after the other, all beautiful things, of course, paintings, calligraphies and everything. And at the end, when everything was over, he said, "I would like to show you one Qur'an which does not exist anywhere but here in this library. It is supposed to be the Qur'an of the Shias, and it has 40 para." In my mind, I said, now the crunch has come. I would like, this is the thing I have come for. But if I had divulged or revealed, it would have been difficult for him. So he showed me, not knowing that what he was showing me was going to open a new Pandora box for him. For the moment the book came in my hand, it was no doubt Qur'ān and Majid, quite ancient. The cover was made of skin. Inside, the letters were, of course, written by ink, but the margin was all surrounded by golden ink. Quite valuable treasure. But the moment I opened Qur'an and Majid, I found that Qur'an and Majid which existed there, which is supposed to be 40 para, was not arranged in para at all. You see, Qur'an and Majid which was there is not arranged on para. It is arranged on tanzil. That means it is arranged on the way the surahs were revealed, one after the other in chronological order. So, it begins with Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, which was first revealed. And the last surah is Suratul Ma'idah, which according to riwayat was the last surah revealed to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I told him, I said, Maulana, he looked like a Maulana, God knows what he was, but he looked like a Maulana because he had a beard and cap on his head and sherwani and all that. I said, Maulana, this Quran is not arranged according to para. It is divided in surahs, and it has got exactly 114 surahs. And Quran has 114 surahs. And every surah's name and title is given at the top, and I don't see anything new in this. Where is the 40 para? There is no para in this. He said, Mujhe nahi malum. I do not know. Log kehte hain. Aur yahi mashhoor hai. I do not know. People say so, and this is famous. This is known popularly that this is Quran of 40 para. At the end of the Quran, there are two du'as. One is called Dua al-Nur and one is Dua al-Wilaya. They claim that we believe that this is also a surah, but it is clearly mentioned this is Dua of Nur and Dua of Wilaya, which does not mean that it is part of Quran at all. Quran ends at 114 surahs. He could not answer. Then I showed it to Professor Musa Rida. I said, you are one of those who go to Mimbar. You may have an opportunity one day to answer the challenge by saying that produce the Quran. We would like to see at any cost, and we would pay the cost for anyone who can travel, who can bring the Quran before public, to see that there is no such thing as pretended by them. Nothing. It does not exist. So rather than give an apologetic answer, we must give an answer which really challenges and counter-challenges them, that no such thing exists. There is no such thing as Quran of 40 paras. One thing. Second thing is this, that the world has been told by the Shia ulama not once, by hundreds of times, that you can visit any Shia Ithnashri home and any Shia Ithnashri mosque. If you find a Quran which is slightly different than yours, then we are responsible for it. There isn't. Whether it is printed in Iran, Damascus, or Najaf, or Makkah, Medina, Quran is the same Quran. There isn't any difference whatsoever. But they accuse us of things. The second thing is, as I said, is hadith. In hadith, naturally, in the time of the Prophet ﷺ himself, when he was still alive, people were reporting from him things which he had not spoken. He was still there. I mean, this happens even today. So many things are reported from you and from me and from many others, and even your angels don't know about it. When we tell you that, did you say this? Did you speak this? He said, no, I don't know anything about it. So many things started in the time when the Prophet was still alive, that people started circulating reports from the Prophet in his name, while the Prophet did not speak that. That is the reason why he said, and there is a hadith which has been reported not by our ulama but by their ulama, where the Prophet said, I hear lies being attributed to me. Things I have not spoken. So whoever will do this, فَلْيَتَبَوَّأْ مَقْعَدَهُ فِي النَّارِ. Such a person should find his place in Jahannam. I have not spoken. Do not attribute lies to me. That's one thing. Second thing, there are people who came and heard the last bit of the hadith. The first bit, they were busy in the market, selling and buying. When they came, just like someone, when the majlis begins, all of you are sitting. Someone comes at the tailpiece. When the majlis is now getting over, and he hears my last sentences, and then he quotes and says, Mullah said this, without having heard what he has said earlier. Naturally, that quotation is out of context. I'll give an example of this. Has happened in Islamic history. So we must know what hadith is, because our Friday lectures here are not meant only for passing time. They are meant for some instruction also, so that the young people who are preparing themselves for the life to come, they should know what their faith is. A woman died. This is after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he had already gone. And her relatives were crying. I mean, this is quite natural. A woman had died in a house and her relatives were weeping, crying. Umar ibn al-Khattab, the second Khalifa, passed from there. In some riwayat, it is Abdullah ibn Umar passed. Whatever, whether the father passed or the son passed, makes no difference. And he said, I heard Rasulullah say that while these people are weeping over her dead body, her azab and punishment is increasing. This is the hadith which today Ahlus Sunnah are also quoting against us for weeping on the Shuhada of Karbala. They say that you weep on Shuhada of Karbala, they are punished. Because the Rasulullah said, Man baka ala mayyitin, whoever cries over a mayyit, the mayyit gets Allah. Now when he said that, people, in early times, if anybody heard any hadith, they immediately got shocked. So people stopped weeping and crying, and they were shocked to hear this. This hadith reached Aisha. Aisha is the wife of the Prophet. When Aisha heard this, she said, Rahimallahu Umar. May Allah have mercy on Umar, for he did not know what the Prophet said. It was a Yahudi mayyit. A Jew woman had died. Her people were weeping. And the Prophet said, while they are weeping over her, azab is increased on the mayyit. It was for the Yahudan that died, not for common Muslims. For crying over a dead person is but natural, and the Prophet himself cried when his own son died, Ibrahim. So you can see how the third thing is that there was a prepared system by Muawiyah and Banu Umayyah that as much as you can, prepare hadith on the lines of Manaqib Ahlul Bayt. Same way as the Prophet said about Ahlul Bayt, prepare the same type of hadith for us also. Either by adding us there or by imitating it. Now let us see. Ana Madinatul Ilm. Everybody knows the Prophet said, I am the city of knowledge. Wa Aliyun Babuha. And Ali is its gate or door. Now there must be some, they wanted to increase. So the first increase was wa Muawiyah Miftahu. And Muawiyah is the key. They don't know that the gate of a city does not have a key. It was not a gate of the house. Huh? If it is a gate of the house, then you have a key. Gate of the city does not. But then they went, well, Abu Bakr Saqafuha, and Abu Bakr is its roof. They don't know that the city does not have a roof. And finally they came with Uthman Mizabuha. Mizab is a drain pipe that you have from upstairs. That drains rainwater away from the building. You don't have Mizab over the city. So when they started patching things up like this, it became quite evident that this is all concoction, manufactured hadith. The Prophet said something, they added to it. Then they thought this was not enough. So they started making things against Ahlul Bayt, Salamullahi alayhim. And that is for the first time we see a hadith, for example. Qur'an says, إِنَّمَا الْخَمْرُ وَالْمَيْسِرُ وَالْأَزْلَامُ رِجْسٌ مِّنْ عَمَلِ الشَّيْطَانِ. Drinking, that means drinking wine and liquor, and gambling, and all these things are the evil acts of shaitan. Do not do it. Now hadith, they have to make a hadith. The Tafsir Ad-Durr al-Manthur, Sunnis, Suyuti, he writes that Ali ibn Abi Talib drank together with 2 or 3 friends, and when they drank they became very intoxicated. So the ayat came. To bring in Ali ibn Abi Talib, na'uzu billah, for drinking. Now, in all the riwayat, we have got to sit down and see who has reported. And the moment we see who has reported, we find out that the reporters are all Ahlul Bayt's enemies. Some of them, by the Sunni authors, have been declared as Rajulun, Kadhabun, Wadda'un, a man who is a liar, and not only a liar, but a manufacturer of hadith. Yet they accept it. Finally, they prepared hadith, which of course has no root whatsoever. It was done for personal purposes. Like, a trader comes to Abu Huraira. Abu Huraira, you know, Abu Huraira, mashallah, became a Muslim in 9th Hijrah. 9th Hijrah, remained with the Prophet for hardly 1.5 years. And he reports events of 1st Hijrah. And by reporting the event of 1st Hijrah also, he says, Ra'aytu, I saw. Wasami'tu, I heard. I mean, Chidilawari is duzdi, ke bakaf shirag darat. You see, what a brave thief that he has light on his palm. I mean, he says, Ra'aytu, Wasami'tu, while he was not even there. He was not there. He was not a Muslim. He was not in Makkah or Medina. See? And he reports things. And then he reports things like, so there was a trader, a business. This is a fact which is reported by themselves. Once somebody asked Abu Huraira, Hada min Rasulillah aw min jaybik. This particular hadith that you have reported, is it from Prophet or from your pocket? He said, Wallah min jaybi. It is from my pocket. Some of you might have heard the hadith, like, if you read one surah of Qur'an, you will get 1,000 hur. Huh? Sometimes 10,000 hur, sometimes countless hur. Because you can't count. Because there are 1,000 palaces. In 1,000 palaces there are 1,000 chambers. In every chamber there are 1,000 hur. Now count. You require a calculator. You see, because it goes into 1,000 multiples. Now all these things, if you read this surah, you will get this, if you have to get it. All these are concocted and manufactured by such people. And the beautiful thing is this, that I was reading Ahlul Sunnah book by Mahmud Abu Rayya. He has a chapter, Al-Wadda'un As-Salihun, the virtuous people who manufactured hadith. Because when, and Agha writes about this also, because when they were asked, why do you produce such hadith? When the Prophet did not say this. What the Prophet has given as thawab is enough. Why do you add so much? He said, we want people to read more and more Qur'an and Majid. Right? Then, he goes to a businessman. A businessman is there, his problem, he can't sell his onions. He could not sell his onions. So he went to Abu Hurairah and said, can you manufacture one hadith so that I could sell all these onions? He said, no problem. Qala Rasulullah. The Prophet ﷺ said, Man akala basala makkata bi'akkata, wajabat lahul jannah. Whoever eats the onions of Makkah in the city called Akka, he will go to Jannah. And the man could not even live there for a day. Everything, even those decayed and rotten onions were also sold because everybody wanted to enter Jannah. And this has been reported by themselves, not by us, that he said this. Now such irresponsible people who reported from the Prophet, sometimes against Ahlul Bayt, sometimes trying to compare others with Ahlul Bayt, sometimes attributing lies, our ulama had to then sit down. And they developed an ilm which has got no match and no parallel in any other religion. It is called ilmur rijal, where every person who reported in the chain of narration is under scrutiny. So, we have ilm rijal where people like Ayatullah al-Khawi, rahmatullah alayh, and earlier Allama Hilli and others, those were the Sayyid Burujardi. These were the ulama who knew those ruwat and the narrators as if they were their contemporaries, as if they were living together. Agha Burujardi could tell you who he was, who his father was, the narrator, what business he did, and where he lived, from where did he transfer himself. He would give details, and then he would say whether they know that this man was good in the beginning, became bad afterwards. They know the man had good memory earlier. This hadith is earlier or later. So, this ilm was then developed, and based on that, hadith is then taken. That now this hadith is sahih and has been authentic. The Prophet said this. Right? Now there are two types in this. You see, you may go out from here, you may remember what I said, but you may not remember word for word. It's not possible. Unless you are a wizard. Because you go out, you may say that we remember what the subject was this. Then this was what he said. But word for word to remember every word that I said is not possible. So what happened was that the report of the tradition from the Prophet are in two types. One is word for word, and one is the words have changed but the meanings have remained. This is but natural. Therefore we have ulama who tell us this is hadith which has been reported lafzan wa ma'nan. That means the word is the same and the ma'na is also the same. Like the famous hadith, al-a'malu bin niyyat. The Prophet said, al-a'malu bin niyyat. Every act and deed of yours follows your niyyah. You see, that is exactly what the Prophet said. Al-a'malu bin niyyat. And so many other hadiths where the Prophet exactly said what is reported till today. But there are certain hadiths where the words have changed. The meaning has remained same. That is the reason why you find sometimes one hadith reported in 2 ways, 3 ways. The words are different, but the meaning is same. Inni tarikun fikum thaqalain. Kitab Allah wa itrati ahla bayti. Is one way. Inni tarikun fikum thaqalain. Al-Qur'an wa ahla bayti. You see, the same thing, but the word has changed. So this is the reason why we say we have 2 types of hadith, ma'nan. Finally, the hadith has one target, one aim. It was not only for elucidating what is in the Qur'an. Hadith explained Qur'an, but it also regulated our lives. It has got an effect on our lives. Hadith changes our lives. If we read the tradition of the Prophet, and lessons for us, it elucidates, it explains Quran, it also gives a guideline. When Imam Ali Salamullah alayhi said, Saluni qabla an tafkiduni. Remember this. This is a very important discussion that we are having. It may not be that interesting story that normally one hears, no. But it's very educative discourse that I am making. When he said, Saluni qabla an tafkiduni. Ask me before you don't find me. They did not realize what he was saying. The guideline that Ali ibn Abi Talib was prepared to offer. Ask me before you don't find me. فَإِنِّي أَعْلَمُ بِطُرُقِ السَّمَاءِ. I know more about the heavenly ways and orbits as much as I know of the earth. Ask me. The people had their own way of thinking and attitude. They did not ask what they should ask. Some asked him, for example, one fellow came and brought his son and said, Ya Ali, if you say, ask me whatever I want to ask you, how many hair does my son have on his head? Hair. Now if Ali ibn Abi Talib had told him 200,000, he would sit to count. Imam alayhi salam said, look, understand what I have said. If you want to know how much I know, go home, you will find a son is already born to your wife, which you don't know. I am sitting on mimbar, I am telling you, go home, you will find a son born to your wife. You think I do not know? I know, that's why I say it. But don't ask me about things which you can't verify. Among many things which happened when he said Saluni, was one young fellow stood up from the end of it all. And he said, Ya Ali, guide me unto a path which will save me from the hellfire. That was the question. And Ali alayhi salam said, listen to me, hear and be sure of what I tell you. That there are only three types of men who will earn the pleasure of Allah. Either he is an alim who speaks and acts and puts to use his knowledge. Acts and speaks. Not an alim who is muffled. Not an alim who is told not to speak. This is from the mimbar. Mimbar is not for the Jamaat, mimbar is for an alim. You can't muffle the voice from this mimbar. Remove this mimbar, do whatever you like. But if you want to do whatever you like while this mimbar is here, it will be spoken because that is the voice of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Your resolutions will not stop this mimbar. فَعَالِمٌ نَاطِقٌ يَسْتَعْمِلُ بِعِلْمِهِ. There has got to be an alim who is a natiq, means who speaks, the spokesman of Sharia, when things go against Islam, anywhere, community or outside, must speak. Puts his ilm to. Right? And وَغَنِيٌّ لَا يَبْخَلُ عَنْ أَهْلِ دِينِ اللَّهِ. And the second one, if you are an alim, then you are a rich man, but a rich man who is not miserly with the people of God. That means with the deen and with the people of religion. أو فقير صابر. Or he may be a faqir, but he may be a sabir faqir. That, of course, inshallah, when I meet you again, I will explain to you as to what the word sabir in hadith means. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.